Hi, Aries, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your May 2022 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, this is going to be a month where there are going to be some planets in your sign, believe it or not, even though the ship has sailed as far as the sun being in Aries. That is not true for some other stuff going on. For instance, on the 2nd of the month, Venus goes into Aries. Oh, that's so great for you because that's the first house of the self. And so you may be looking good. I mean, maybe more so than usual. Sometimes this makes the person want to improve their looks, get a haircut, start wearing, if a woman's starting wearing makeup again or something, or guy liner for a guy, for a man, guy liner. But for other people, this can be simply that you come across in a very appealing way. And it could be that je ne sais quoi, if I'm saying that correctly, that people can't put their finger on, but they just have this strong attraction to you. Venus is the attractor. And that can be good for so many things in life. And also, another great thing is that while this is happening, the sun is in the second house of earned income. So, cha-ching. Uh, and on the 10th, Jupiter goes into your sign. So that's really great. Now, it's not going to stay in Aries for the rest of 2022. I have been putting up videos on Jupiter going into various signs. I don't know if I've done Aries yet. I probably have since it's in your sign. But you can always check my channel to see, because I'll go into depth with that. But this is going to be first house. So it's going to involve your life as a whole, of things maybe opening up for you. You do have to look at what else has been going on, because Jupiter can magnify those things. If you're like on the wrong road, it's not, it could be something that is like a lucky turn of events. In the tarot, the Wheel of Fortune card is connected to Jupiter, and so it can be, that your luck turns, hopefully for the better. There's, that image of the man falling off of the wheel, because sometimes, and somebody's on top of the wheel because they're on top and somebody else is falling off of it, and it's all about the cycles of life. So you have to, if you have been going through a rough patch, I would definitely use this energy to get yourself back on your end, not relying on just something random happening, but really trying to improve your circumstances so that you don't have even more of the same. Now, that's advice that I would give to anyone. I would never tell anybody just to be complacent about their problems, but especially if there's something, unusually problematic going on. So anyway, yeah, Jupiter in your sign, the first house. First house can be the body, so watch for Jupiter's expansion. That's one of the house transits where a person can experience weight gain. But the truth is that I remember when the pandemic, we could say the shutdown hit, and there was a lot of these talking heads, or these so-called experts, the media, trying to promote this idea of like people gaining weight because they were stuck inside for a long time. And I don't know, I know that there were people that might have fallen into that habit, but it didn't seem like it was like a big deal. So just because somebody tells you that this is a problem for you, it's only a problem for you if you believe it and if you act on it. But anyway, that's really great that Jupiter is going into that first house. And then we have a Mercury retrograde not too long into the month of May. Gemini goes retrograde. Mercury goes retrograde at 4 degrees of Gemini on the 10th of May. So that's very interesting. And the 10th of May is my, what is it, 7th anniversary on YouTube for doing readings. Isn't that something? And there's going to be a Mercury retrograde. And my North Node is at 4 degrees of retrograde, 4 degrees of Gemini. So I'm like going, okay, what's going to happen here? It's just very interesting, all of these transits in May for all of us, because Mercury retrogrades can be that you're rethinking something. So Gemini is your third house. Of course, this is a general forecast. Perfect time to mention this, Aries. This is a general forecast. So the timing of everything may differ based on your personal chart. And it is going to go back into Taurus. So you're going to have Mercury retrograding in this house of finances. So there may be something that you need to really look at. Maybe with the third house, this has to do with your website. Maybe your website is not helping you to snag enough clients or customers, and you have to redo it somehow. Or maybe your online presence has to change. That's social media is the third house, and it's going back into the second house. So it's like, it could be even like pricing issues. If you work for somebody else, it can be something about learning a new skill. You know, do I need to learn a new skill? If somebody's afraid of losing their job because they're not accredited in something, you may really think about that, but you might crunch the numbers and say, okay, if I take this course, am I guaranteed to make more money? All of those things can come up, and they should, when you're deciding what to do. And Mercury goes direct, I think, around June 3rd. So that things will get resolved by the middle of June. And on the 16th, we have a lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Scorpio. I think May is going to be a real hot month in a lot of ways. And so for Aries people, this is in your 8th house. I mean, can we say, oof, I knew we could. I don't mean it, I'm kind of joking, but your 8th house is Scorpio, and a lunar eclipse is very scorpionic because it's purging, it's bringing things up that might have been hidden, all of those things. But it can be really good for something that has been plaguing you that you can't get rid of. And this can run the gamut. You could be a hoarder. You could be you could have an addiction. Just refusing to deal with a certain trauma, and you're doing shadow work or going to therapy or something. That can be what this involves, but the lunar eclipse can also just kind of make you free from this. And sometimes because people give a lot of energy to things, they can keep something alive that has happened quite a while ago. And it's not to say that, if somebody has a trauma, that's just like, oh, just, get over it and just move on with your life. But part of that is integrating that experience into your psyche as a whole, into your energetic field, whatever you want to call it. And this is what this is all about. There can be some major secret that comes out that needs to see the light of day. If you have any kind of inheritance issue, that can come to light. Maybe it was done behind your back and now you're being aware of it more. On the 20th, we have the sun going into Gemini. So that's that very cerebral area. And of course, this is the third house, and Mercury rules the third house. And plus, the Mercury retrograde began in Gemini. So that may have something to do with whatever else these transits in Gemini bring up for you, like a teaching job, getting trained, something's a writing project. On the 22nd, Mercury goes back into Taurus. So Mercury is in the sign of Gemini until May 22nd. So it's in that second house of earned income. So crunching the numbers, trying to figure out how you're going to do a certain thing, afford a certain thing, earn a certain amount. These are the things, and they're very practical kind of things that you're thinking about. On the 24th, Mars goes into your sign, and you're ruled by Mars, Aries. So it's a double whammy, but a double whammy in a good way, because your ruler is the energy that you represent. So you feel very comfortable when Mars is in your sign. It makes you feel energized. And you may even be getting into some exercise routine because you have Jupiter here along with Mars, and there may be this desire to really expand your physical movement in some way. You just have a lot of energy. Aries people tend to have a lot of energy regardless. Let's get real here. On the 28th, Venus goes into Taurus. Whoa, so Venus is in its own sign, in its own house, in your chart, second house. So that's very good for money in two ways. So that can be very fortunate for you. And because Mercury is back in that second house, you may be trying some things that you used to do and seeing if they produce a result, and they will produce a result. On the 30th, there's a new moon at 9 degrees of Gemini. Keep in mind that this is a few days before Mercury goes direct. So anything that comes about at this new moon, you have to make sure that you are not thinking that there aren't going to be any kind of snafus, because Mercury still has to get back out of its shadow. And actually, it has to go direct, and that's not coming until June 3rd. But it can point the way to something that may materialize with you later on in June. You can certainly take tentative steps if it's not something that's really, so important that if you make the wrong move, everything comes crashing down. Because when Mercury comes out of its shadow in June, at the end of June, there's going to be another green light portal for a couple of months until late August. So that can be, or I think mid-August, something like that. So there's more time to put plans into action. And it's always tricky because sometimes we just had a green light portal, and personally, I wasn't feeling it for my own reasons. And, we all have our individual charts. If you're listening for the sun in Aries, your natal chart could be like completely different. And, you're depending on what your rising sign is. So that's why it's good to know your rising sign so you can listen for that. That will very oftentimes, the natal chart will very oftentimes give you an idea of mundane events versus the solar information. So it's good to know that as well. And you may, have different timings with that. And, it's all depending on what feels right to you. So there could be some kind of teaching job or, tutoring. You might be interested in social media, really like going in, immersing into it, because you want to get some other sources of revenue. And maybe this is a great time to research. When Mercury is in Gemini in the second house, it's a great time to research about these kinds of things. How can I make money that have a connection to that third house of Gemini? Okay, that's what I have for you, Aries. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, if you would like to look at the next 12 months of your life, along with having your natal chart analyzed, if you've never had that before, I do double readings. Now I'm so happy that I thought this up, because it is more extensive. Before, I don't even know how I did it, but a lot of times I would go over time. And I would do they were supposed to be hour long, and I do like an hour and a half because I just couldn't fit it all in. And I felt like it was inadequate. So these are an hour of natal chart analysis, an hour of transits for the next 12 months for a discounted price, because you're buying, in bulk by buying 2 readings. And that's called my deep dive reading. And then I have, if you like the tarot, it's like a full-length tarot reading and a chart analysis, or you can get a look at your transits, and that one is called the whole enchilada. You can find out more information about these readings at the link below. Thank you for listening.